my keys on the counter and someone took them. And of course, I kept telling the owner, don't worry about it. They're in the parking lot. Why would you take somebody's keys? But they were with someone else who drove them all the way to East Greenwich. And then they called and brought them back. And then a wonderful police woman decided, since I was going to be late, that she'd turn on the lights and take me. And she took me to Wickford. And turned around and left. I knew I was in Wickford. I knew the difference. And that's when the trouble began. You don't exist. All those people in that other place never heard of Peacedale. And 11 people, never mind. So first I want to again apologize. And secondly, I'm going to tell you only two things today. Everybody wants to talk about the one thing, the man in the White House. And I want to talk about two things. I want to talk to you about race, because I believe that is one of the reasons we're in trouble. All these people that the president doesn't like, lately, people from Venezuela, they're brown, they're black. We've been at this. It's our 250th year, and we've been at this racism since day one. I have a copy of the Constitution, and in it, they decide that black people are 2/5 of a man. And the reason for that is so that the South can get more whatever, and Virginia and Mr. Jefferson, they're dominated. So they're going to fix it so Northerners don't have too much power. And the white racists with slaves and enslaved people do. That's how we start. Now, women can't vote, can't own property, can't do anything. This nation is awful, trying to improve. That's all that happens. People forget. One of the things that interests me the most is killing Chinese in the 1880s and 90s when they're done building the railroads and other such things, because we don't need them and China won't take them back. So we murdered them. And then they write a report to Congress saying why we killed them. Because we told them to get out of Utah and they moved too slow. So we killed 40,000 Chinese and then reported it to Congress. And then Nebraska and all those places are bragging about it. This is not new, what is going on this day. This is normal. I'm black. I've had 1,000 incidents in my life, and my mother raised me not to see the incidents unless you have to. It will drive you mad. White folks practicing racism on you. So ignore it. But sometimes you cannot, because it builds. It builds. I have 100 stories I could tell you, from having my head cracked open in Mississippi to this story that is me on the side doing what I probably shouldn't be doing, but I do it. You ready? A prop. It's not a Hollywood prop, it's a prop. I go into Whole Foods. I love telling this story because this is life.
I did tell him.
I'm going to tell them again.
Oh, tell him.
Were you dramatic and wonderful?
I didn't even know the tell.
So, I go into Whole Foods, minding my own business, and I hear this woman screaming, I did not do it. And I go over. And the manager is telling her, get out, you're a thief. And the woman keeps yelling, I haven't stolen anything in 50 years. She's a 55-year-old. Maybe she did something at 5. I don't know. But that's what she's saying. And then the manager finally gets the off-duty Providence police officer to come and says, arrest her for stealing. And she says again, I did not steal anything. And finally the manager tells her what she's done. She took one of these from the coffee area, walked to the free water area and filled it up and drank it after buying $87 worth of stuff. And this never crossed her mind that this was stealing. It doesn't. Now, I watch white folks all day long steal grapes at Whole Foods. I'm not one to test it. 5, 6, 7. If they taste good, they take 2 more. It's stealing. Now, I'm going to tell you what I found out that I already knew. So there's a cop standing there, and he's ready to arrest the woman because he wants to keep his part-time job. They make $48 an hour. And I go like this to him, and he gladly steps back. And I walk over to her, and I say, "You stole nothing." The manager is confused. "Put your arm through mine. You're going to have a royal escort to the door. They're not kicking you out. I'm escorting you." Now, she didn't want to be kicked out because it's a lifetime of that garbage. And you see, you're innocent and you're guilty. She did it. She stole it. So what? So what? And the manager saw this black woman stealing and is going to have her arrested for it. Cop doesn't want to do it. It's absurd. What are you going to book her for? The cost of this cup is 3 cents, I have found. That's what she's being booked for. She says no. I walk closer. And then sense comes to her, and she puts her arm through mine, and out we go. A lifetime of this. Not once in a while. When I was a kid, on Sunday we sat, and the 5 of us, my mother would say, "And what was the racist thing this week?" And you'd have one. And it would be as light as that, because we were the best children in the world. I'm serious. Are you listening? Yeah. This will drive you mad. A lifetime of it. And we're not talking about the big stuff where you want to buy a house and they won't let you buy it on that street. Now that's the big stuff. I lived in an all-white neighborhood and had my own bus. My sister Ann and I had a bus, and they took us 5 miles to school every day because we couldn't go to the school 3 blocks from our house. This is America, and I'm not joking. I'm not. Now, so here we are again, a president talking about it publicly. We can't remember Eisenhower being racist. We can't remember any of that stuff.
I can.
Okay? You can't remember Johnson, Lyndon Johnson being one of the famous 13 racists that ran the U.S. Senate. Because we've forgotten all Eastland and all those people. And they control the Senate. And Teddy Kennedy said, "It's unbelievable. You sit down with them, and the word, excuse me, would come out." And Teddy Kennedy would say, "No, no, no, no. Do you know how to say Negro?" They ran this country. Lyndon Johnson decided he wanted to be president, so he would change his ways. Now, we don't know if he changed his ways in his brain. I have no idea. But he is the champion of the civil rights bills. Because when you're over there, super racist, you've got to get over here in order to get yourself elected. They run the country, but they can't make people in Minnesota and Michigan vote for them. So they have to change. He has to change. Russell and Stennis, they never change. 80% of black people cannot vote in 1964. 80%. And we forget it. My mother used to say, God sent Martin Luther King because no person was more needed in this country at that time. So let me go to the second part of my talk. You ready? They can't defeat you because this war has gone on since Madison and Jefferson and even Benjamin Franklin, who owned a slave, who actually saw how to be better in his lifetime, unlike Jefferson with his slaves, or Washington with his slaves. These horrible people who have 2 and 3 and 4 streets and schools named after them in every town. Now the big question is, can you do so much good that your evil is forgiven or whatever? And I always tell people, I think it would be fun. Every 25 years, if your male face was on a piece of currency, that the American people would vote whether you could stay. We put a few women on there. I'm serious. There is nothing radical that you can do in this country about race, gender, sexuality, nothing. Did you hear what I just proposed to you? And we have the ability electronically now to let the whole nation vote. 90 days, on comes Rosa Parks. Why should every time you pick up one of these pieces of currency, a white man is pointing out at you at all times, and not a one of them same thing. Almost every one of them are racist, and you're walking around with it. It's awful. That's why the nation doesn't change. We do baby steps. We don't do much. And every time someone proposes something, someone says, don't be so fast. One black woman on a piece of currency is going to be enough. You have 17 pieces of currency, paper. Why don't we say, okay, let's just do 3 to start with women. I'm not joking you. Every time you see one of these things, you must act. Let's go back to the cup. 21 or 2 white people witnessed that event. I always wait 3 or 4 days. I call the regional office and said, how many people have called you? 0. Every single one of them thought it was awful. This black woman being arrested for this and yelled and screamed at in the store. Not one of them called. None. It was in the past. Their experience was those 5 minutes. They were not harmed like her. Smallest thing you can do is pick up the phone. Every time you see an incident. If you're chicken, don't give them your name. I saw this racial incident in the store, and it was as wrong as rain on a sunny afternoon. It should not have occurred. Now, the manager called me, the regional manager called me back 3 days later to say that she fired the manager in the store, not for doing that to the black woman. I asked her to do training. See, I never go after small fish. Train all your employees, because they may too see stealing from a black woman next week. Now, why is this racism? First, it's stupid, but it's racism because they've never done it to a white woman. Ever. So she called me back to tell me they fired the woman because she asked the woman to agree to apologize to the black woman when she saw her next in the store. Now that's easy to do because you would never see her next in the store. She refused. And she brought up the fact that this black guy interfered with her job. And the manager said, why do you want to arrest somebody when you don't have to on something this small? And she told the manager, exact words, you're taking the side of those black people. And the manager said, you don't have to, this is how I found out what this cost. She said, you don't have to protect the corporation from the 3.5 cents. You could let it go. And the manager, local, Whole Foods, North Main, Providence, Rhode Island, I like to tell on people by name. No, because we're always being kind. Why are you being kind to a racist? Now, did she even know she was a racist? No, when she started, it was just black woman doing wrong. The black woman's the bad one here. Now, did she know she had done something wrong by the time the manager finished talking to her? Yes. Could she back down? No. Pride. We can't change the world with being prideful. We can't. I don't think it's a good trait. So, every time you see something, I would have liked 1, 2, 5, 10 of those 20 people to have called the manager, not just my voice. I call every single time, and I'm not frightened of anybody. I got a good lawyer. I used to be president of the ACLU. I'm not frightened. And what would I be frightened of? Did you hear? I got a good lawyer. You come after me, it's going to cost Whole Foods some money. Stay with me. Every chance you get, and it'll be more often than you think, pick up the phone. And don't look for the complicated. I brought you a kind of middle awful. Don't look for Ray Rickman getting his skull cracked in Mississippi. You know, that happens every 6 months on television. And we go, oh! And I don't know what we're going, oh, for. Because it's happening in Detroit or someplace every day. It just doesn't make the news. So you just deal with when you hear what the teacher said about the kid with a disability. You can deal with it. Don't be belligerent. I tell people, you know, you lean your shoulders back and you lower your voice when you're going to criticize anybody to their face or talk about anybody. But the world will not change if we do not come forward. It will not. And we can't say ignorance, because I told you, I'll bet you a nickel, this manager in this store did not get up that morning and say, I'm going to do something awful and racist to the first black person I meet. She did the opposite. I saw her. She's dressed all cool. I believe the majority, this is awful, and I've only come to this on my 75th birthday. Isn't that unbelievable? I'm 75. On my 75th birthday, I said, the clock's ticking. I don't know if it's the retirement clock or go to heaven clock. I have no idea. But the clock is ticking. And I have to be more direct with people. And I have to say to them, what do you mean you give the soup kitchen $50 a year? Because that's what people do. They write these little checks. You could give them $5,000. Okay, you want to keep your money? Put it in your will. You have 3 nephews you don't even like. Put $5,000 in the will for the soup kitchen. They'll be surprised because you never gave them anything. And it will, you know, if you were a Baptist, you'd be talking to God with that good deed. Now you're not, so you can't talk to God. So it's only a relative or the soup kitchen people who are going to say what good you've done. Overly late in life, not during life. Now I'm going to conclude because I'm sure I don't have much more time. I'm going to suggest something strongly to you. Strongly. 2 little things. One, the tiniest, easiest thing. The Attorney General of Rhode Island, every 3 weeks, is up trying to protect your rights. 4 lawsuits. Every time it affects 10,000 Rhode Islanders, he's out there. No one thanks him. No one picks up the phone, Attorney General Rhode Island, hello, thank you for caring about transgendered people. Thank you. Do you know how easy that is? You don't have to go backwards. Next week you'll be doing it again. Every time you see it, someone doing good in the world, you praise them. Because people are quick to praise people who do something wrong in the world, and no one is a saint. And so seldom are they thanked. The other thing I would suggest to you is, I wasn't joking about the soup kitchen, and Stages of Freedom if you'd like, that every single person do triple this year what they did last. I buy coffee for 97 cents at McDonald's. And the reason I buy it is Paul Newman's coffee is really special, and 86 cents of every 97 cents goes to children's charity. Okay, and the coffee's better than Starbucks. Do you hear me? Yeah. And I buy 200 cups of coffee a year, and that $200 goes there. And I have to program myself and go the extra block out of the way half the time. That's all. They receive $82 million a year for those children's charities, by McDonald's having put that in place, Paul Newman having put that in place, and all of these Rays doing that. Do you see how easy it is to do good? And in this case, tasty. So it would be wonderful to come back in 2 years and every single person tells me you've made 10 calls. The school board is messing with our children, and instead of you reading in the paper, you make a call. Every single one of you. Oh, it's the school board next door. I'm sorry. They get your state money. They used to get the federal money. You can call them too. Don't be narrow about stepping forward. So again, I want to apologize for being late. It's only 10% my fault. And I want to urge you, this is what I'm doing as I enter my final quarter. Harvard Medical School says anything after 76 years old for a man is a gift. In years. It's a gift. Whatever you're doing bad, you're supposed to stop. Now, if you're smoking, you're supposed to stop this after. Take that last puff and stop. You want to be here. And there are all these things we do that are wonderful, that could be more wonderful. And I think, one of the, I think only 7 people, I asked this morning for direction, said, you're Ray Rickman. And I went, yes. And she said, you were fabulous on the parole board. You were fabulous. And I said, how do you know that? She said, 3 or 4 times there were articles in the paper, and the vote was 4-1. And they were keeping a teenager in jail for driving the car. He got 10 to 20 years. And the people doing it got 10 to 20. And then you find out that the kid driving the car is the nephew of the criminal. And he's 17 and the criminal's 39, and probably all but put him in a headlock. And he got the same amount of jail time, and I fought for it on the parole board unsuccessfully. But back to racism and my conclusion, we had 11 rich white kids come before us, driving cars, drunk, killing two 85-year-old women, one in front of Hemingway's, ran up on the sidewalk into the park and ran her over, chasing her with his car. He got a year in jail. That's our systems. It wasn't him, he had good lawyers. That's what the parole board members say. Now, in conclusion, I want to thank the 4 or 5 people in this room that I know that are really good human beings and are out in the world. And if the rest of the world was like that, we wouldn't have anybody in the White House that we don't like. And you be of good spirit, do not buy this, the world is at an end. You don't understand government. Government minimum has 3 parts. And you're going to be surprised that the courts are going to do better for you than you think. They read the Constitution. And they're going to bend more than they should. But there is a point at which you cannot bend. And there are things, I watched them. The courts have restored about 80% of federal employees. You didn't fire them correctly. You need to give someone 2 hours notice to pack get their wife's picture off the wall. You're wrong. Now what will the final thing be, I don't know. But how you're acting is disgraceful, they're telling the president. An education department, they fired half of them and they only put about 5% back. I don't know what that's about. We will see. But you speak up and tell Mr. Whitehouse and Mr. Reed and Mr. Magaziner to stay vigilant because the Congress has a role. And we will not be in as bad a shape as you think. That's the media and most of us. Woe is me, the world has come to an end. I've seen this before.
So glad you made it. Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, okay, good. I just want to let you know that our next congregational dinner is coming up on Wednesday, April 2nd at 5:30, a celebration of everyone's birthday. It'll be a hybrid meal with a few folks providing large amounts of staples like chicken, tofu, and potatoes, with others providing side dishes. Please let Lee know if you can help with the larger dishes or a side. If you can't bring anything, you can make a donation of $8 per person or $20 per family, and no one will be turned away for lack of donations. And Sunday, April 6th is big. We'll have a new member recognition ceremony celebrating 6 new folks. Then 15 minutes after the service, their first chance to exercise their membership as we all gather for an open conversation about the most important issues facing the congregation, hosted and facilitated by the Committee on Ministry. And can I invite Val up for a quick announcement?
Amber?
Yes.
Remember my announcement as well.
And Nancy. Was yours the Charlie Donnelly one?
Oh.
I did that one before.
Announcement.
That was the first one.
Okay, thank you, so I got it.
Hi, folks. As Amber said, in 2 weeks, we will have a new member Sunday, and we would like to give each new member a copy of our directory. And a lot of things are out of date. So if you know how to go on Breeze and check your information, please do so. And also, it seems that Breeze will only print 1 phone number. So if you want people to know your cell phone number, list that first, and that's what will be on Breeze, I believe. And if you don't know how to go on Breeze, I've made 2 copies of what's now in our directory, and I'm gonna have them on the table right by the name tags. If you could come and make corrections, and if you don't have time to do that, you can also call Sarah when she's in the office and tell her the corrections you'd like to make. And if you have a chance, we'd like this done soon, so we have an updated directory to give out on April 6th. Thank you very much.
Our closing words are from Audre Lorde. You become strong by doing the things you need to be strong for.
Right.
We extinguish this chalice, but not its light, that we take with us out into the world, sharing it with those we encounter on our journey. I invite you to rise and stay in where your chair is to sing the closing song, which is printed in the order of service.
It was great having both of you.
Thank goodness I listened to the talk already.